everybody. I'm Swati.
I'm Celine. Chelsea. Laura. Kristen.
And we are I Came, I Saw, I Catered. Today we're going to be showcasing the work that we've done over the course of Capstone 1 in hopes to improve the operations and the inventory inefficiencies that a company called I Cater is currently experiencing.
So a little bit of background on our project. We're actually working at Pine Street Inn, which is the largest resource for homeless individuals in New England. It's located in South Boston. But specifically, we as a group are working with a company called I Cater, and they're affiliated with Pine Street Inn. They're located at the same location, and so they actually provide job training to the homeless individuals at Pine Street Inn. And so all of the stakeholders that are part of our project are employees of I Cater. And specifically, we're working with our project sponsor, Andy. He's the VP of Operations. He actually has a PhD in industrial engineering, so it's really interesting working with him.
So as Kristen mentioned, we're working with basically a catering company. It's just kind of an overview of how they operate so you can understand it better. They get goods delivered based on what they order each week for what they need to cook for the meals they're going to be delivering. Those goods get delivered and then they're stored in their storeroom, freezer, refrigerator, wherever they need to be stored. Those ingredients are then requested by the kitchen based on what they need to cook that day. And those are then pulled from the storeroom, freezer, refrigerator in the form of a pull sheet that you can see here that just lists the quantity of items needed and what items they need. Those are then sent out to the kitchen who cooks those meals, and those are then delivered to 27 sites in Boston.
So initially, key stakeholders at Pine Street Inn and I Cater came to us with why they thought they were unable to grow their business. They had a bunch of problems, but they needed us to determine and analyze which one held the greatest opportunity for overall improvement. What we determined was that their key issues were centered around their physical layout and their lack of tracking regarding goods coming in and out. What you see here is the floor plan that we created of their current state storeroom, and circled in red is what you see as what we analyzed to be their major pain points. So coming to this area of focus, it took us a really long time. It wasn't something that came quickly. It took over 20 visits to I Cater and Pine Street Inn over the course of this semester, and that totaled like 44 hours of manual metric collection, observations in the storeroom itself, and meetings with key stakeholders to get to the actual root of what we thought the problem was.
So in making over 20 visits to I Cater, we saw a lot of crazy things happening in their warehouse. So which did our team not witness or take part in at Pine Street Inn? Giant spill of chicken juice mixing with ice cream and causing about 2 hours worth of cleanup efforts. Every group member waking up to be at PSI at 5:30 in the morning when their picking time occurs. An I Wish box that we created for worker suggestions being inundated only with wishes to hire Tyrone, or chicken being transported from the storeroom up to the kitchen to be prepared in garbage bins. And the one we didn't actually see was C, because we actually had a couple of other suggestions, but the majority was still to hire Tyrone. So as you can tell from all of that, it is a little crazy there. When we first came, this is what it looked like. There were labels that were incorrectly labeling what was on the shelves. There were people who would come down from the kitchen, grab something, and go back up without actually alerting the storeroom workers that they had taken something. And there were things that were ordered that were kind of just put to the wayside, forgotten about, and expired in the process. So those are some of the challenges we were working with, as well as a storeroom manager was hired around the time we started, and he's really great at his job, but he has a bit of ground to cover in terms of relaying what he's doing back to us. So we're trying to keep track. As you can see, he's already made some layout improvements, started on labeling and things like that. But ultimately, he doesn't have the time or necessarily the expertise to do everything that our project will entail. So we're going to keep a pulse on what he is doing and continue moving forward with our project.
So after going in many times to observe and kind of understand that initial state, what we did was we understood that the main opportunity for improvement was within the storeroom. So we developed a fishbone diagram. This is kind of just us developing that. Here is our first draft of that fishbone diagram. A little bit of a cleaned up version is here. Again, we're focusing on inefficiencies in the storeroom and processes around that. So in terms of materials, contributing factors, we're working a lot with donated goods, which makes it really difficult because there's not necessarily a specific schedule for donated goods. Also, it's food that we're working with and food expires, so that's another challenge. In terms of the environment, the storeroom that we're focusing on is actually located in the basement of Pine Street Inn, and that's difficult to, one, communicate with the kitchen upstairs, and two, transport food up and downstairs. In terms of the method or the system, the storeroom isn't necessarily organized to be efficient, so you don't it doesn't necessarily make sense to pick items where they're located right now, so that's another challenge. For machines to transport food up and downstairs, they have an elevator, but it's been broken all semester, so they use a conveyor belt, and like Laura was talking about, there's like chicken and ice cream that's spilling off of it all the time, and it takes a long time to clean up, so workers are wasting their time cleaning up a mess rather than putting in value-added work. And in terms of tracking the food in the inventory, it's a very manual process, so a lot of times they just won't do it because they don't have the time. So they don't necessarily know how much food they have at a given moment, which makes it very challenging in terms of ordering. For people, again, we're working with trainees, and it's really difficult because there's not a standard workflow or standard job definition for these employees. So when you have trainees coming in every couple of weeks or couple of months, it's difficult because they don't know exactly how to go about their job, and they don't know what's expected of them. So all of these are contributing factors to an inefficient storeroom, and based off of these underlying problems, we're able to kind of narrow down our scope for this semester.
Right, so the three main focus areas are the storeroom environment, the inventory processes, and role definition. And this photo was taken after the major chicken spill, which Laura mentioned. So not only did employees have to stop their work and clean up that spill, but they also had to set up this blow dryer in order to keep sending food up to the kitchen. Also pictured is this box. In this case, it's a box of bananas, and workers regularly have to use just any heavy box lying around to send food up to the kitchen because the conveyor belt actually doesn't have enough friction to keep those items from sliding off. So this picture is really what we see as, it really embodies what we see as opportunities for improvement at iCater, because there were a lot of Band-Aid fixes, there's a lot of workarounds in place, but nobody actually has the time to address the root causes of the problem because, you know, this organization is always in cost of production. Also from the fishbone diagram, we took the proposed solutions and we plotted them on an impact difficulty matrix. So you can see down here, illustrating green, some of the low-hanging fruit has already been completed. The solutions in yellow, they are either already in progress or they will be our main points of focus for the upcoming semester. So like labeling and reorganization, that's already in the works. And if we have any additional time, we would like to do some of the solutions in gray. So for example, we'd be really interested in creating a linear program to find optimal inventory levels, but it's pretty challenging, so it's not our current priority.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we've got those three main focus areas. So in terms of our initial solution ideas, for kind of recreating the storeroom environment and layout, we wanted to host a Kaizen event and also use some 5S methodologies to just kind of organize the storeroom. We wanted to implement some visual management techniques in order to make it easier for storeroom trainees to find out where items are actually located in the storeroom, and also optimize the location of all the items in the storeroom. In terms of inventory processes, we wanted to upgrade them from a paper inventory system to an electronic inventory system, so they get like real-time know exactly what they actually had in store. And also explore some crunch time functionalities. So crunch time is basically just their current inventory tracking system that they use to place orders. And then finally, just defining specific roles for storerooms and the storeroom employees and the drivers so that they have properly allocated resources based on where they're needed.
So as mentioned before, the order picking process occurs at 5:30 in the morning, and this presented challenges in gathering baseline metrics to understand pick times. So it created challenges in getting a sample size big enough for it to be statistically significant, and there were also problems related to the menus change day to day as well as the workers change day to day, so that increased variability and with the workers' familiarity with the storeroom layout. So we obtained IRB clearance for a survey and a study. The survey is a worker satisfaction survey distributed to all workers in the kitchen and storeroom environments. And it has questions like the one you see above, circling overall satisfaction with processes or how they feel entering certain areas of iCater and Pine Street Inn. And then in the volunteer study, we brought subjects in to act as trainees, people who did not know the storeroom layout at all, and they were given standardized pick sheets with kind of normal pick items on them. And for this, they just tried to pick the items as quickly as they possibly could. And this was great because we also got insight from just things they said along the way, such as why is their printer right next to the beans and pasta. And both of these studies serve as good baselines. Next semester, we will be both redistributing the worker satisfaction survey post-solution implementation, as well as bringing the same subjects back and having them do the same pick time study. And from this, we're going to assess the improvement of our KPIs of both worker satisfaction and meals and pick times.
So kind of looking ahead, actually we're working on a logistics project currently this semester that'll be completed around December 14th on optimizing the inventory practices of Pine Street Inn and iCater. We're going to be using some inventory modeling techniques basically to analyze their capacity to take on new contracts. So right now, because of the inefficiencies in the storeroom and their current inventory, they're unable to take on any new business, and we'd like to see them expand in the future. And also just analyzing their purchasing practices, see where they're inefficient, where we can kind of save them some money. Again, we're going to be holding a Kaizen event using some 5S methodologies to improve the efficiency and accuracy of order picking and location of items in the storeroom. And then analyzing all of the data we've collected over our 44 hours of observations to better understand kind of where we should actually allocate the items and optimize the location of the items in the storeroom using a link analysis, frequency of items in the pull sheet, and then also volunteer picking data. And talking to storeroom employees too, because they know what kind of works for them. And then finally, just meeting with crunch time representatives to explore any further kind of electronic inventory tracking functionalities. So that's all we've got. Is there any questions?
Were you guys pointed out like items or whatnot for the storage group, or did you guys come to that conclusion using the people diagram?
Yeah, we came to that conclusion. Yeah, it was something where we had people up in the kitchen doing observations and down in the storeroom, and we just noticed a lot more inefficiencies in the storeroom, so we decided